Hey horror fans, welcome back to Room 237, and it's still June 13th, still Jason Voorhees' birthday, so why not do another review? Friday the 13th, Part 3, which was released in 1982, and I still think this is one of the more solid Friday the 13th sequels. I don't know what I was just looking at, but anyway. I do like this cover. It's very reminiscent of Psycho. There is a shower death in it, but I don't think that's one of the biggest deaths, but I do like this cover. I remember when I first saw it on the internet, I thought it was a screen door. But anyway, I've had these DVDs for a long time. I've had these DVDs for like 16 years. I got this whole set for Christmas when I was in 6th grade. Because that was the year Freddy vs. Jason came out, so I had to get all of them. Anyway, Friday the 13th, Part 3. Now, of course, if you notice anything about the cover, looks like the knife's coming right at you. That's because in the 80s, the whole gimmick of 3D was making a comeback. Yeah, the state-of-the-art technology that was huge in the 1950s made a comeback in the 80s, and now it's ever more prevalent today. And the gimmick back in the 80s was any sequel, since that's the decade of sequels, any sequel that was Part 3 had to come out in 3D. Friday the 13th, 3D, Amityville 3D, Jaws 3D, which, yeah, that's quite the 3D experience. Looks like the loaf of bread coming at people. But I think this movie is most known because this is the movie where Jason got his hockey mask. That's right. First movie, he wasn't the killer. Second movie, he looked totally different, had a bag over his head. The third movie, pretty much just by chance and I guess necessity, or because someone just wanted to try it out, I think is what it was. He had the hockey mask. Now, this movie takes place, well, first, it was again directed by Steve Miner, who directed Part 2, which is one of my favorite sequels. It stars Dana Kimmel, who's not a very good actress. She's our lead. And Richard Brooker was Jason, who sort of, even though Jason looks more like a backwoods hillbilly in Part 2, he sort of acts like him in this one, more so. And this is the one where he really runs. People want to bitch about Jason running. He runs in this. So Part 3 takes place the day after Part 2. So it's actually Saturday the 14th. Didn't have the same ring to it. He's actually not at Camp Crystal Lake. It's something Haven. I can't remember the name of it. But it's this group of friends. They're all friends of Dana Kimmel. I guess it's her family's summer house. Jason's sort of laying low from Crystal Lake because I bet cops are still sweeping the place from Part 2. Even though it's not Crystal Lake, it's next to it. So that's the killing field. That's the hunting ground. Is this sort of it's something Haven, where these teenagers are vacationing. Along the way, it's not really clear if like the two hippies, older hippies, the Tommy Chong wannabe, and the woman, if they're part of the group, or if they just ended up in the teens' van. But anyway, they tag along. And there's one character who's sort of the chubby friend, the prankster, the outcast. His name is Shelly. Shelly, who I like, he is either one of the biggest fan favorite or a fan hated because he is obnoxious. He's like the worst prankster because like he pranks them. Like he has great gore effects. Like he pranks them putting a hatchet in his head with blood. Like he's always going over the top. They're all in the van, and he has like this little tiny footlocker. And he tells the girl he's with like his entire world is in there. And he's able to fit like a hatchet, gore effects, a wetsuit, a harpoon gun, a hockey mask, because that's where he gets it from. Shelly walks into the barn. We never see him again. Well, we do. And then Jason has a hockey mask. Again, this one's pretty solid. Not much to say about it other than the kills. Of course, there's also the trio of bikers because Shelly and his blind date go to the convenience store to get some booze. There's some bikers there that give him trouble. And Shelly's reading a Fangoria magazine. Shelly backs into their bikes, and then the bikers go back to where they're staying to get some revenge. Jason stops them. I will say one thing that doesn't make sense is Dana Kimmel goes on this very badly acted monologue because her boyfriend's with her. She tells this story that happened years ago when her parents were fighting, so she ran away. She ended up in the woods, and this man attacked her, who's not wearing a mask. We can tell it's Jason. But Jason is still dressed like this, and he's still bald like in this. He doesn't look like the hillbilly in part 2. And also, it's the next day, so I guess Jason knew how to shave his head and change his clothes to lay low. Because then later on, Dana Kimmel rigs up a thing, a noose around Jason's neck so he'd get hung outside the barn. And when he pulls himself up, he lifts up his mask, and he has like this smile, like, I remember you and you remember me. She recognizes him. So it's just like, I don't know, it's just kind of confusing and poorly acted. It's like Jason looks like he does in this, but this was years ago. They didn't really make much of an effort to differentiate it. Also, like, that's part when he runs, and I thought this scene was creepy. She gets in a boat to escape. Then when she wakes up, she looks up in the window and you see Jason clawing at the window, and then he runs out the door at her. But then he's gone. And then Mrs. Voorhees, with her head and sweater, comes out of the water and grabs her. That was a dream. And cops put her in the car, and she's laughing hysterically. She's lost her mind. But again, it's still just a group of friends going somewhere out in the woods, have a good time, and they're all killed. There's definitely a lot of 3D shots, because when you're filming with a 3D camera, you have to make shit go towards the lens, so the effect. Drooling on myself. But, like, this isn't a 3D version. I guess you can buy one, used to be at Walmart, but I've heard it doesn't work very well, and that the red and the blue is still separated on the screen. Like, you have a part where a guy's doing yo-yo, and the yo-yo's going towards the camera. Shelly tosses his wallet, goes towards the camera. Biker punches through the window. That's supposed to be 3D. I guess it doesn't really look all that great. So pretty much you just have what looks like a movie with a bunch of shit just going towards the camera. Some of the deaths, you get like a Kevin Bacon death where this girl who's pregnant is in a hammock. She gets a machete through her chest. Her boyfriend's doing a handstand in the hallway. And it's weird because it's like he gets him you get this great shot of Jason like upside down. He goes like this. Machete comes down, and he's like walking on glass, like as we can see him from the floor. But like when his girlfriend in the hammock before she gets killed, she looks up and he's like cut in half and folded on top of himself. It looks kind of weird. It never really made sense to me, but the effect looks good. When Shelly finally gets his throat slit and they don't believe him because they think it's another trick, that looked good. Of course, I love the shot of Jason when we first see him with the hockey mask. Shelly's sort of date is like knee deep in water because she dropped something. She thinks it's Shelly because she already saw him in the hockey mask. little stuffy again. He just like walks out. He just points the harpoon gun or the crossbow, whatever it is. I mean, that would have been a cool 3D effect. I guess it was in theaters. Gets her in the eye. I mean, that looked cool. Cool gore effects around the eye. And then he does this thing where he just turns, sort of, like drops the harpoon gun or whatever, and just walks away. He kind of has like this weird stance. And I love the shot when he gets hit in the head with the axe. It's like this. Like that, and then he does like this Frankenstein's monster coming at the camera. Like, I thought that looked cool. The scene in the hallway looked cool also. She stabs him in the knee, and he's like dodging her knife, but it's at like a weird angle, like this tight hallway. I thought that was a nice shot. I'm probably leaving out some deaths. It's been a while since I've seen it, but... And also, they don't say his name once. Like, they don't know it's Jason. They don't ever say his name. This is the only movie where that happens. Fun fact. But yeah, I would still consider this one of the better ones. Not as good as 4 or 2 as far as sequels. But it's still way better than... Well, I mean, 6 and 7 is pretty fun. But it's better than 5 and way better than what's after 7. But yeah, 3... Still, I mean, it's different because it takes place somewhere else. Oh yeah, Dana Kimball's boyfriend. That would have been a cool 3D effect. He gets his head squished, and like you see his head, and then like the camera kind of shakes, and then his eyeball comes out at the camera. Thought that was cool. I've said cool a lot throughout this review. Yeah, Friday the 13th Part 3. Still one of the more solid sequels. Again, this was 1982, so this when slasher films were still awesome. For the most part. It's when they were coming out every year. Because each one made more money, so Paramount's Frank Mancuso just wanted to keep pumping them out. But Part 3, still good. Still one of my favorite sequels. Feels a little different, yeah, because it is somewhere else, and, you know, it's still something new. Jason looks different. I like the makeup. It is sort of, you know, lumpy and snaggle teeth hanging out. I thought Richard Brooker played him pretty well. He is still kind of like a hillbilly in this one. Oh, when he kills the 2 grocery people in the beginning, this woman gets like a sewing needle in the back of the head, but the shot is in front of her, and it's still like this. But yeah, I'll probably go on for a while, so. Friday the 13th Part 3, or Friday the 13th 3D, depending on which version you have. The one when he gets the hockey mask, this is when it started becoming iconic Jason. I still really enjoy it. I liked it when I was a kid. After this would be the best one, but then from then on, just kind of got redundant. But Part 3, I still really like. Still a solid sequel. But for Room 237, and to Jason, happy birthday.